So picture your adult boxer for a second.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing zoomies in the yard, right? Their coat looks like shiny copper. They're practically inhaling every meal. And, they still bring you their favorite toy the absolute second you walk through the door.
Typical boxer behavior.
Exactly. They look like the absolute picture of perfect health. But according to our source material today, that exact image, that idea of the perfectly healthy dog, is actually the single most dangerous illusion an owner can buy into.
It really is.
So welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to decode what preventive care actually looks like for an adult boxer. We're going to, extract the essential nuggets of knowledge from our sources and really unpack how thousands of ordinary, quiet decisions over your dog's lifetime are what actually determine their long-term health.
Yeah, we're talking about the unglamorous stuff.
Right, the stuff that isn't glamorous but is just absolutely vital.
Well, to really understand why that image of the perfectly healthy dog is kind of an illusion, we have to look at the historical context from the sources. Because the original boxers, they were working dogs. I mean, we're talking about animals bred for hunting wild boar alongside handlers.
Wait, wild boar, that's intense.
Oh, incredibly intense. And later, they served in these incredibly rigorous police and military roles. So for those dogs, physical soundness wasn't like a luxury. It was mandatory.
Because they had a job to do.
Exactly. Their bodies had to be absolute machines. Their lungs had to process massive amounts of oxygen during a pursuit. Their joints had to absorb really high-impact strikes on hard ground. And their whole cardiovascular system had to sustain prolonged, explosive energy.
Wow.
If the dog wasn't physically flawless, it literally couldn't do its job. Or frankly, it wouldn't survive the encounter at all.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you're listening and you have a family boxer currently sleeping upside down on your couch,
Which they do.
all right, they obviously aren't out hunting wild boar. They don't have those intense external job pressures anymore. But, and this is key, their physiology hasn't actually changed.
Not at all.
They still have the exact same skeletal architecture, the same lung capacity, the same internal machinery as those working ancestors. The goal has just shifted, right?
Yeah, a complete shift in purpose.
We are no longer optimizing for, working performance in the field. We're optimizing for quality of life and longevity in the living room. And maintaining that high-performance machinery requires a very specific proactive mindset from you.
It does. And the absolute cornerstone of that proactive mindset is the annual veterinary visit, which actually brings us right to this massive misconception highlighted in our sources.
Oh, that checkup thing.
Yeah. There is this really pervasive idea that if a dog is energetic, eating well, has a shiny coat, routine checkups are somehow optional, or at least less urgent. Owners naturally feel that if they can't see anything wrong, nothing is wrong.
I have to push back here, though. I mean, I get that, but if my dog is eating, playing, looks like $1 million, aren't we just looking for trouble by dragging them to the vet?
People say that all the time.
It genuinely feels like, trying to fix what isn't broken, like skipping car maintenance because the engine isn't smoking yet. Why pay the mechanic if the car runs fine?
Right. But waiting until something is visibly broken fundamentally misunderstands how preventive medicine works. The entire value of a wellness exam is catching those tiny microscopic changes before they trigger a massive physiological crisis.
Okay, that makes sense.
Think of it like a cybersecurity scan running in the background of your computer. The computer seems to be operating perfectly fine, right?
Yeah, the screen isn't frozen or anything.
Exactly. But you don't wait for all your files to be locked up by ransomware to run an antivirus scan. You run the scan to find the silent malware before it executes.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
When your vet does a routine exam, they are looking for that silent malware. They're listening to the heart valves for the faintest murmur. They're palpating the abdomen to feel for subtle enlargements in the liver or spleen, things the dog literally cannot tell you about.
So they're essentially checking the code while the machine is still running smoothly.
Precisely.
And beyond just the physical exam, this is when the background software of the dog gets updated, right? We're talking about vaccinations being tailored to your dog's lifestyle and those really crucial reassessments of parasite prevention plans.
Yes, and parasites are actually a perfect example of silent malware, because there is a very stubborn misconception, I hear it all the time, that indoor dogs, or dogs that just go out to a fenced backyard, don't really need consistent parasite prevention.
Oh, the my dog's an indoor dog myth.
Exactly. The assumption is that because the dog isn't roaming the deep woods, they're perfectly safe.
But pests don't respect property lines. I mean, fleas actively seek out heat sources. They enter the home on our clothes, or they catch a ride on a visiting pet. A flea does not care if your dog is an indoor dog.
No, they really don't.
Once that flea is in your living room rug, you have a sprawling infestation.
You do. And honestly, even more critical than fleas is heartworm.
Oh man, heartworm.
Because heartworm is transmitted exclusively by mosquitoes. And mosquitoes routinely bypass window screens and get inside houses all the time.
Right. One opens the door to get the mail, and boom, they're in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even the briefest outdoor exposure, just walking from the front door to the car, creates a window for a mosquito bite. But what owners often don't realize is the mechanism of that bite.
It's not just an itchy bump.
No, not at all. The mosquito doesn't just suck blood. It deposits microscopic larvae, called microfilaria, directly into the dog's skin.
Oh.
And over several months, those microscopic larvae travel through the dog's bloodstream and physically grow into these foot-long worms. Yes, and they literally clog the pulmonary artery and the heart itself.
That is horrifying. I mean, you can't see the mosquito that bites your dog in the dark, and you definitely can't see worms quietly growing inside their chest for months.
You really can't.
By the time the dog actually starts showing symptoms like a cough or fatigue, their heart is literally backed up with worms.
Which is incredibly hard to treat at that stage.
This is exactly why seasonal use of preventatives, or, skipping months just because it's cold out, is so dangerous. It leaves these tiny gaps in protection that parasites just easily exploit.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the theme here is that the most dangerous threats are the ones operating totally out of sight.
Yeah.
And the mouth is perhaps the ultimate example of this. Dental care is genuinely underappreciated by a lot of dog owners. There is this huge myth that our sources directly call out. The idea that feeding a dog dry kibble automatically keeps their teeth clean.
Oh, I hear this one constantly.
Yeah.
The crunching action is supposedly like scraping the plaque off the teeth.
That's the theory everyone believes.
But relying on dry kibble to keep a dog's teeth clean is basically like a human eating a handful of crunchy crackers.
Yes.
And expecting that to replace brushing their teeth.
Yes. Perfect analogy.
If I ate a box of Triscuits and told my dentist, well, they're crunchy, so I haven't brushed in a year, they would throw me out of the office.
They absolutely would. I mean, look, kibble does offer a very mild abrasive benefit compared to, say, a diet of only wet, soft canned food. But it shatters when bitten.
Right, it breaks apart.
It doesn't wrap around the tooth to scrape the gum line, which is where the real danger actually lies. It is nowhere near sufficient to prevent the buildup of plaque. And plaque is just a sticky film of bacteria.
Just sitting there on the teeth.
Yeah. If it isn't physically brushed away, minerals in the dog's saliva turn that plaque into hardened tartar, and then that tartar pushes up under the gum line.
And this is where it goes from a cosmetic issue like stinky dog breath to a full-blown systemic medical crisis.
Exactly, because the body's immune system recognizes that bacteria under the gum line as a foreign invader and attacks it, which causes severe inflammation. And gums are highly vascular.
I mean, lots of blood vessels.
Right, packed with blood vessels. So when those gums are inflamed and bleeding, they basically become an open, direct highway for oral bacteria to just flood into the bloodstream.
Oh, wow.
Every single time the dog chews their food or toy, they are actively pumping bacteria straight to their kidney filters, their liver, and the valves of their heart. It causes this chronic hidden pain that the dog just basically learns to live with.
See, I'm struggling with the logistics here, though. If kibble doesn't work, what are owners actually supposed to do?
Yeah.
You can't exactly ask a boxer to rinse and spit at the bathroom sink.
No, you can't. The protocol requires active, hands-on intervention from you. Teeth should ideally be brushed daily.
Wait, daily?
Ideally daily, yeah. Or at least several times a week, using a dog-appropriate toothpaste. And that's crucial, never human toothpaste.
Raise the ingredients, right?
Yeah. Human toothpaste often contains artificial sweeteners like xylitol, which is highly toxic to dogs, or fluoride, which causes major stomach upset because dogs swallow the paste, they don't spit it out.
Yeah,
So you use a finger brush or a soft bristled dog brush, focus just on the outside surfaces of the teeth, and physically disrupt that bacterial film before it has a chance to harden.
Okay, so if brushing teeth is how we actively maintain the internal gateway of the dog, what about the exterior? Because people look at a boxer's short, tight coat and kind of assume they have a free pass on grooming.
They really do think it's just wash and go.
Right. They don't get massive, painful mats or tangles like a poodle or a husky would, so owners treat brushing like it's purely just for making the dog look shiny for a picture.
And brushing a short coat does distribute natural skin oils, which keeps the skin barrier healthy. That's true. But its primary medical value is that it rebrands grooming as a routine physical examination.
A physical exam you do at home.
Exactly. You are actively running your hands over every single square inch of the dog's body. And this is vital because boxers have a well-documented elevated cancer risk, specifically for mast cell tumors.
And those can be sneaky, right?
Very. These tumors often present simply as just skin masses or tiny little lumps under the skin.
So finding a new lump during an ordinary Tuesday evening petting session, just feeling a tiny bump on their chest or leg that definitely wasn't there a week ago, that can literally alter the trajectory of that dog's life.
Finding it early is absolutely everything. The sources emphasize not to panic, obviously, because many skin masses are completely benign, fatty tumors.
Like lipomas.
Right, lipomas are just harmless cysts. However, you cannot adopt a wait-and-see approach. The reason is that a highly concerning mass, like a mast cell tumor, cannot be distinguished from a benign fatty tumor just by looking at it or squishing it with your fingers.
They feel the same.
They feel exactly the same. So they require prompt veterinary evaluation, typically something called a fine needle aspirate.
What does that actually look like at the vet? Because aspirate sounds like a pretty major surgical procedure.
It sounds scary, but it's actually very quick and relatively painless for the dog. The vet just takes a tiny needle, inserts it into the lump, and pulls back the plunger to extract a few microscopic cells.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. Then they spray those cells onto a glass slide and look at them right there under a microscope. Within minutes, they can often tell you if you are looking at harmless fat cells or the granules that are characteristic of a mast cell tumor.
That's amazing.
It provides immediate, actionable data without needing to put the dog under anesthesia for a full biopsy right away.
Okay, so while we're running our hands over the dog checking for lumps, our sources also heavily spotlight the extremities, like the nails, the ears, and the paws. And I think nails are fascinating because we mostly tend to view them just as an annoyance.
A cosmetic annoyance.
Right. We worry about them scratching up the hardwood floors or snagging the living room couch. But there is actually a profound physiological impact to letting them grow out.
There is. And to understand it, you have to realize a canine foot is biomechanically distinct from a human foot. Dogs are digitigrade animals.
Meaning they walk on their toes.
Right. They walk on their toes, not on the flat soles of their feet like we do. So when a dog's nails grow too long, the hard nail strikes the ground before the soft paw pad does.
Ouch.
And that physical impact acts as a lever, physically pushing the toe bone upward at a totally unnatural angle.
So it's literally altering their physical structure from the ground up.
It alters their entire kinetic chain. That unnatural upward pressure on the toes changes how the wrist absorbs shock. That alters the angle of the elbow, which places uneven chronic strain on the shoulder.
It's all connected.
Everything. Over months and years, overly long nails accelerate joint wear and tear, directly contributing to orthopedic issues and early arthritis.
Wow. The rule of thumb from the text is actually incredibly practical for you listening at home. Your dog's nails simply shouldn't audibly click on hard floors.
It's a great test.
If they sound like they're tap dancing when they walk into the kitchen, their biomechanics are already being compromised, and it's time for a trim.
Yeah.
And, while you're messing with their feet anyway, check the paw pads for small cuts or embedded debris like glass or thorns, especially if you've been on hike. Look inside the ears for redness, dark discharge, or a funky yeast odor.
Oh, that smell.
Yeah, that smell signals an environment where an infection is brewing. It is all about establishing a baseline of what normal feels and smells like for your specific dog.
That's the key word, baseline. Because once you establish that external baseline, you finally have the context needed to monitor the boxer's internal systems.
Right.
And this is where subtle deviations from the baseline can be the deadliest.
Mm-hmm.
The two main metrics for the internal engine we have to watch are body condition and cardiac health.
Let's talk about body condition first.
So, weighing the dog on the scale is helpful, absolutely, but you also need to physically put your hands on them. A monthly body condition score involves actually feeling for their ribs.
What should that feel like?
You should be able to feel the ribs easily without having to press hard through a thick layer of fat, but they shouldn't be sharply protruding either. And when you look down at the dog from above, they should have a visible waist tapering in behind the ribs and an abdominal tuck when you view them from the side.
Okay, got it. And then we get to the engine itself, the heart. Because boxers are highly predisposed to two serious genetic conditions, right? ARVC, which is arrhythmogenic ventricular cardiomyopathy, and DCM, dilated cardiomyopathy.
Yes, unfortunately they are. And to understand why these are so dangerous, we have to look at the mechanisms of each. In DCM, the heart chambers actually become dilated. The walls of the heart stretch out and get incredibly thin.
Like a blown-out old rubber band.
That is exactly what it's like. Because the muscle is so thin and overstretched, it loses its elastic snap. It can no longer pump blood efficiently through the body.
And what about ARVC?
ARVC is different. It's an electrical issue. The healthy heart muscle is progressively replaced by fatty or fibrous scar tissue, and that scar tissue actually interrupts the electrical signals that tell the heart to beat, causing severe arrhythmias.
The rhythm gets thrown off.
Right. The heart basically misfires and twitches instead of beating in a strong rhythmic pattern.
So what does this all mean for the owner at home? Because there's a massive, incredibly dangerous misconception out there that if a boxer isn't coughing, their heart is totally fine.
What's fascinating here is how deeply ingrained that myth is. People heavily associate heart problems with coughing, and while coughing certainly is a symptom of heart disease, it is almost always a late-stage indicator.
I want to break down exactly why that is, because it's a pure mechanical failure.
Yeah, go ahead.
When the left side of the heart gets weak, like that overstretched rubber band in DCM we talked about, it fails to pump blood forward into the body efficiently. So the pressure backs up into the vessels of the lungs.
Like a traffic jam.
Exactly. And eventually, that pressure forces fluid to literally leak out of the blood vessels and pool directly into the lung tissue itself. The dog coughs because they are essentially drowning in their own fluid.
Which is awful. And it means if you are waiting for a cough, the heart has already been failing for a long, long time. The heart muscle was undergoing silent, microscopic changes long before the fluid ever backed up.
This is why boxers require specific cardiac screenings, right?
Yes. Things like echocardiograms, which use ultrasound to actively measure the thickness of the heart walls and the strength of the pump. Or Holter monitors, where the dog wears a little vest that records their electrical heart rhythm for 24 hours to catch those sporadic misfires.
It's all about tracking. Tracking their resting breathing rate, logging their weight, feeling their ribs. It is honestly exactly like tracking the stock market.
That's a really good point.
If you only look at a single daily spot check, it tells you absolutely nothing. A 1-pound drop today might just mean they had an extra large bowel movement. A slightly fast breathing rate might just mean they were having a really intense dream.
Exactly. The isolated data points don't mean much.
But if you are logging this data over several months, the actual trend line emerges.
Yeah.
You start to see, wait, over the last 4 months, my dog has slowly, inexplicably lost 3 pounds. And unexplained weight loss is just as alarming as sudden weight gain.
It is.
The trend line is the truth. The single data point is just noise.
But this raises a really important question for owners. If tracking all this baseline data is so vital, why is it so incredibly hard for owners to just look at their dog and notice when they are sick?
We stare at them all day.
We love our dogs, we watch them constantly. Why do we miss the early warning signs? And the answer actually lies in the breed's psychology and their evolutionary biology, which actively work to deceive you.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We have to talk about the "my boxer still acts like a puppy, so it must be healthy" trap.
Oh, yes.
Because boxers have famously prolonged playfulness. They're total clowns. They're energetic, bouncy, deeply desperate to engage with you. That vibrant enthusiasm is literally why the bride is so beloved.
We love them for it.
But it acts as a flawless mask for early illness. A boxer will push through profound fatigue, nausea, or mild pain just to chase a tennis ball or do a full-body wiggle dance when you walk in the door.
And that stoicism isn't just like a quirky personality trait. It is a deeply ingrained evolutionary survival mechanism.
From wolves.
Yes. Across virtually all breeds, dogs are remarkably capable of masking illness and physical pain. It's a direct holdover from their wild wolf ancestors. In a wild pack dynamic, showing weakness is a literal death sentence.
Because of predators.
Right. If you limp, if you act lethargic, if you show that you are compromised in any way, you immediately become a target for apex predators. Or, alternatively, you become a liability to your own pack, and they leave you behind to protect the group.
That's brutal.
Nature is brutal. Survival dictated an immense pain tolerance and a stoic poker face. They evolved to hide their pain until they physically, biologically cannot hide it anymore.
And this evolutionary masking is exactly why relying on obvious symptoms is a losing game. If you are waiting for your dog to come tell you they're in pain, you are waiting way too long. Their instincts are screaming at them to hide that vulnerability from you at all costs.
That biological reality is the ultimate argument for organized record keeping. You cannot rely on your eyes because the dog is literally tricking your eyes. And you certainly can't rely on your memory.
Our source material specifically mentions using digital tools like the VitalPet app to actually log this data. And think about what that looks like in practice.
How so?
Well, say it's a random Tuesday night. You notice the dog only ate half their dinner, and they seem just a bit sluggish on their evening walk. Normally you shrug it off, right? And by Friday, you've completely forgotten it even happened.
We all do that.
But if you open an app and log half dinner sluggish, you create a permanent data point. When you walk into a 15-minute vet appointment 3 weeks later and the vet asks, have there been any recent changes in appetite or energy? You don't just guess.
You have the proof.
Exactly. You look at your app and say, actually, yes. Starting 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday, they began skipping meals intermittently. You literally hand the vet a timeline, which is the exact vital context they need to put the puzzle pieces together.
That recorded data bridges the communication gap between what the dog's biology is desperately trying to hide and what the veterinarian desperately needs to see.
So bringing this all together, what we've really uncovered today is that true preventative care for an adult boxer isn't like a singular event.
No, it's not.
It isn't an exciting checklist where you buy a premium kibble, purchase a nice orthopedic bed, and suddenly your dog's health is just guaranteed forever.
It is a quiet, sometimes tedious, ongoing relationship.
Right.
It's the unglamorous discipline of scrubbing their teeth when you're totally exhausted on a Thursday night. It's trimming the clicking nails. It's physically feeling for their ribs every single month, tracking the subtle shifts in their weight, and taking them into the vet clinic when they look and act like a perfectly healthy, indestructible puppy.
It's all those tiny, ordinary, invisible decisions that ultimately prepare your dog for a dignified, comfortable transition into their senior years. By doing the boring work now, you protect their future.
Absolutely.
And as a quick reminder, this deep dive is strictly for educational purposes. If you are ever concerned about your dog's health or notice a deviation in their baseline, you should always consult your veterinarian directly to investigate.
The overarching lesson today is that the physical machinery of the dog requires relentless, proactive maintenance, precisely because their spirit seems so unbreakable.
Which leaves me with a final thought I want you, the listener, to mull over today. We explored how dogs evolved over thousands of years to completely mask their physical pain in order to survive in the wild.
Right.
But over the last century, humans have stepped in and selectively bred boxers specifically for that high-energy, forever puppy enthusiasm. Did we accidentally amplify that masking effect? By purposely breeding companions whose primary psychological trait is boundless joy and a relentless desire to play. Are we inadvertently breeding dogs whose sheer manufactured happiness makes it fundamentally harder for us to realize when they are secretly suffering?
That is a profound tension. We really have to wonder if their greatest psychological trait, their joy, might actually be their greatest physiological risk.
Something to think about the next time your dog greets you at the door with a toy. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Don't wait for the engine to start smoking. Go check those baselines. We will catch you next time.